Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. U.S. Championship 2015. This is round 2, my favorite tournament. 1, it's a great tournament, and 2, I'm from the United States. This is the game of the day today, I believe. Hikaru Nakamura, now rated number 2 in the world, against Akobian is black. Akobian's been playing for a long time on the U.S. Olympic team as well as the U.S. Championship. Let's see how he does. I do want to say this. One game I'm not going to show. Sam Shanklin played Wesley So today. And I have to tell you honestly, Sammy fought valiantly. He really did. He really did. 95 move. Ended up being a knight and pawn ending, which is nightmarish. And he was a little low on time. But so tip of the hat to Sam. Even though he lost, I thought he fought valiantly. Anyway, folks, let's get to the game. It's going to be a French. Nakamura's white. Akobian is black. Knight D takes, knight takes, knight D7. You've all seen this a couple million times. Knight F3. I hate the French. I hate playing it, and I hate playing against it. So it's safe to say that I hate the French. Knight takes, bishop D3. Pretty standard stuff. C5, bishop B3, queen E2. This is all booked so far. Bishop B7. White castle's long, and Akobian has black castles. Pawn takes. Now this is a move that Kipper calls for bishop takes C5, which makes perfect sense. I think Akobian would be satisfied with a draw as black against Nakamura as white. Knight D5, H6, bishop takes C5. They're all pretty close in score. But Akobian goes B6, an unusual move, and Nakamura had to think for a while. These are positions that aren't really well known. By the way, there's going to be a short interview with Nakamura at the end of the video by Grandmaster Maurice Ashley. So Carl thought for a long time, he says, you know what, I'm going to take it. Pawn takes, king B1. White's up less than a pawn according to the computer, but he is a pawn ahead. Let's see how he does. Both have the bishop pair. Bishop B7. Good thing about Carl's bishops, they both cover both sides of the board here. They're in a good spot. Knight to D4. Rook A5. Interesting move. Interesting move. Obviously he's trying to double up. But no matter really where he goes, those bishops can still harass him. But Carl decides to go knight to B5 instead and harass the queen. Queen goes to C6. Interesting game. White's king looks naked, but he really isn't. I mean, with those bishops there, queen, that knight can come back. It's plenty of protection. And the 3 pawns, of course. And black doesn't have any pawns to storm down to disrupt the king side. Or I should say the castle side of white. Presses the rook. Rook moves back. F3. I didn't think he wanted any nonsense. Later, he wanted to control this square, I think. And also to move the bishop there. Bishop A6. Believe it or not, the computer calls for A4, which I find very interesting. Of course, the computer has no fear. It doesn't have any emotion. It doesn't care. And Carl kind of had the same idea. He went C4 instead. I think he was a little leery on moving the A pawn. Rook over. Bishop C3. Now we're getting to the meat of the game here. We're on move 19. Computer likes bishop takes B5, and then pawn takes. Queen to C8. That's not, I don't think a human would do that, retreat the queen like that. Or bishop B7 is probably more realistic. He goes queen to C5, and the computer gives him a question mark. And the points are climbing up now for white. Hikaru's ahead by over 2 points. He's a pawn ahead, plus he's another point ahead for a total of 2. About 2.25, actually. If he had taken b takes b5, c takes queen c7, and it's still a game. Because Hikaru goes bishop to d4. That queen's in a world of hurting. She has to go back. And Hikaru is just slowly taking over the board. Bishop takes. Now white is up 2 pawns. Rook d7. Bishop back to f2. Bishop c5. Hikaru's winning the trade, of course. He's up 2 pawns. And as you can see, it's 4 against 3. But on this side, it's 3 against none. A lot different. Bishop e4. Hikaru can trade down some pieces. Those pawns are just going to roll down the board. Rook b8. Rook takes. Knight takes. Rook c1. He's happy, like I said, to trade. A little over a 2-point advantage. I think Carl slipped a little bit on his trading down, but I still think he's in good shape. I think that 2 points is actually should be higher. Knight to f6. Bishop d3, just reinforcing that pawn and getting the knight or bishop out of harm's way. g6. Rook d1. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. Knight d5. I mean, what's black going to do here? The attack is over. There's no real attack against white's king. Now he's going to have to muster his forces to try to stop those 3 pawns. Rook to c1. He goes back to c1. Queen to d4. Interesting. g3. Of course, we see why. That knight would have been good there. Rook to d8. Bishop c4. Takes care of that in a hurry. Knight e3. There's not much really black can do here. Bishop b3 backs it up. Rook goes after the pawn. a4. Nice. Knight f5. Queen e4. Now Carl wants to trade real bad, especially queens. He moves the queen. Rook to c2. He checks. King comes up. I mean, the points are piling up. It's over a 3.5 point advantage now. Queen to d8. I think what happens, especially great players like these guys, happens to us, amateur players. Logically, we know the game is over, but emotionally, we haven't got to that point yet. And when your emotions meet with your logic, then you know it's over. So he's going to play on. At least get the move 40 anyway. g4. He's got to move the knight. f4. I mean, Carl still has attacking chances here. The queen, this bishop, and these pawns. He might not even need all those passers. Queen to d7. Queen e5. Rook h4 is going to bust up the king side. Queen to d3 and h5. And that's where Akobian resigns. I thought it was a good game. Now, Carl has been very critical of himself the last couple of games. And Carlson does that. Even Aronian. Those 3 guys are very, very tough. Caruana, for that matter. Actually, all the good players. All the great players, I should say. They're all hard on themselves. And that's a trait of a good player. You don't make excuses if something goes wrong. Even when you win, you're not happy with your play because you're always looking to play better. Always better. Always better. Always better. Even if it's in small increments. That is your goal. To play better than you did yesterday. And then the next day play better again. And that's what these guys strive for. Give you an idea after h5. Queen to d8. h6. I mean, what's he going to do? He's doomed. Absolutely doomed. There's no way he can stop all those pawns. So anyway, 2 wins in a row for Hikaru. I thought he played a decent game. Of course, these guys are world-class players. And I will say, after this win today, Hikaru on the live rating list is number 2 in the world. Now, these guys don't really look at that much because he makes you crazy with the back and forth, but you'll see he talks about that in the small interview at the end of this game. So anyway, folks, my buddy Hikaru Nakamura, 2 in a row, U.S. Championship, my favorite tournament, at the beautiful Chess Club and Scholastic Center in St. Louis. Definitely on my bucket list to visit. And as I always say, folks, at the end of all my videos, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
You know a guy loves chess when he's paying attention to all the boards. He's just won a hard-fought game, or maybe you might not call it a hard-fought game, but he's still quite interested in what's happening on all the other boards, particularly this game you guys were talking about with number 2 player in this competition, Wesley. So, first of all, Hikaru, congratulations on your win. Second of all, did you know the move B6 when your opponent played it? You seemed to kind of lean back, take your jacket off, and went to work when the move B6 appeared on the board.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I've seen similar ideas, not in the exact position, but you know, okay, it's a pawn, so why not take it? Basically, I mean.
Is that how you felt when you looked at the board? You felt like it was just a pawn.
Yeah, kind of. I either take, well, not that. It's that I saw this knight d4, knight b5 idea, and then I think my queen side should be more or less intact. But kind of, I mean, what else am I going to do? Play c6 or something and just draw? I mean, okay, I didn't really feel like playing a boring game, so. Yeah, I just took the pawn, and I think, I mean, basically when I was calculating this knight d4, knight b5 idea, and I saw it before I took on b6, I just figured it had to be okay, and I thought it was just a dubious sack, basically.
And it looked very much that way. Eventually, did you think it was going to be this easy, though? Because he just fell apart within the next 10 moves really fast. Did you see any chance for counterplay?
Well, okay. After Var didn't play bishop takes g2, after knight d4, when he didn't play bishop takes g2, after that I think it's just over. I mean, I think basically you can play on for who knows how long, but eventually you're going to lose that position. I mean, white just has to consolidate c4, f3. I mean, okay, at some point I can maybe even go b3, a4. So I just think, I mean, you know, I think really it wasn't Var's position, basically. You know, Var is a very positional player, and so to kind of, you know, just gambit a pawn like this, it's not his style. So I think certainly because of that, he was a little bit uncomfortable, and he didn't find the right continuations. And so, I mean, I think it's more a style thing than anything else. You know, I don't know, if I was playing that position against Magnus, I think I would prefer to be black than white, for example. But, I mean, against a positional player like Var, I mean, I certainly prefer white.
Well, you mentioned the #1 player in the world, Magnus Carlsen. Congratulations. You're now currently, on the live rating list, the #2 player in the world, having crossed the 2,800 barrier. What are your feelings about that?
I mean, who cares? I mean,
I think a lot of people would care about being the #2 player in the world.
There are better things to do in life than looking at that stupid rating list, frankly. I'm just trying to play good chess, and I'll worry about everything later.
You've been playing very good chess this year, having won Gibraltar, having won Zurich. By your standards, the game in round 1 wasn't so great. This one was definitely a dominating performance. Alejandro Ramirez, our host, even said, well, Hikaru looks like he's on his way to winning the tournament. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, okay, let's just say the start's very similar to Gibraltar. I started with black, had a rather shaky game, won that, and then I think in the second round, I won a very nice game against Harika. So I guess the start is similar, but, you know, obviously tomorrow I play Gata. We'll see which Gata shows up, certainly, but then I play Wesley as well. So I mean, there are a lot of strong players. You know, it's a long way to go. 2-0 is not. I mean, okay, it's nice to start 2-0, but I mean, really, who cares?
So I guess you're not thinking about the Bobby Fischer prize, huh?
I might think about it if it was a prize which I think is more accurate to reflect how difficult it is to go 11-0.
So what do you think it should be? Like
I think the odds are substantially higher. Let me put it that way.
Indeed. Well, congratulations, J.K. Thanks for joining us, and good luck in the rest of the tournament. Thank you. World #5 rating.